All right, it looks like we're live now. I hope my frames aren't dropping for real, for real. All right, everybody. Like I was saying, now this is a different video from the one that you guys are used to me recording or filming or anything. As you guys can tell, this is a discussion video. Now, I've talked to you guys a lot about doing this because I really have wanted to talk about Rwby. The reason why I'm doing this video today, besides the fact that I haven't had the means to do so, like I haven't had I never made my notes like I got right here next to me. I didn't have the streaming software, and hopefully this is coming out good. Hopefully the stream looks good. I get that in this area to like my left is like dark and everything. I couldn't get the camera to go all the way over there, so we're just gonna have to deal with that. But this is us talking about Rwby. This is us talking about Rwby. I did at first want to wait until I got like a couple people in here who actually did want to talk about it. But as for now, this is just going to be me getting all my thoughts and everything on the matter and just laying them out regardless of whether there are people in here or not. What's the word I'm looking for? Because it's been a while because I actually do want to talk to everybody. But to start off and everything, my take on the volume so far. Now, excluding the episode that came out today, because as you guys know, there is an episode that came out today on Rooster Teeth's website for first members and everything, so definitely go check that out. Excluding today's episode, which I have seen already, I've already seen today's episode, my take on the volume for Chapter 1 and Chapter 2 has to be like, it's phenomenal. The animation has just continuously climbed up since, and it's not to say that Monty did or had bad animation. It was the uniqueness of Rwby's animation that kind of captured my eye because it was nothing like how I thought it would be. Like it was new to me. But the animation quality is crazy. The editing's crazy. I know for a fact it has to be a complete pain in the ass to do Snow. And we got to see Snow first episode. I didn't even think we'd see it first episode, but we got to see Snow first episode of this volume. And it was just like, I just don't know. Like, it was amazing to me how the animation quality and everything was. It didn't seem to have like drop. It didn't seem to have any problems. It didn't seem like there were any complications, if you know what I mean, with the animation. It didn't look like there were any weird sudden stops of animation or anything like that, except for when I think it was when Ozpin said no in the second episode, where it seemed like the snow stopped and then started falling again. But regardless, let's get back into everything. Starting order, first thing I want to talk about is Yang and Blake's dynamic. As you guys know, it was Blake's, you can call Adam ex-boyfriend or whatever you want to call him, or love interest or whatever. He was the one who obviously cut off Yang's arm in Volume 3. After Volume 3, it was already stated by Yang in the end of the volume that Blake just left, up and left and everything like that. And her coming back in Volume 5 is great, amazing. We all wanted Team Rwby to be back. We all wanted everything to go smoothly with all of them. However, at the same time, unlike Rwby, Weiss, and, well, just Rwby and Weiss, and I guess you could count Crow and, you know, Jean and the rest of Team Juniper and everything like that. But unlike them, Blake hasn't been around Yang with her with her new arm. So the thing is that with that being said, she's treating Yang like a crippled person, or like Yang can't do anything. I won't say like a crippled person, I ain't trying to offend anybody, but she's treating Yang like Yang couldn't do anything. That's one of the first scenes that we see from, that's one of the first dialects that they have with each other in this volume, is Yang telling Blake that she doesn't have to do that. Blake's acting like she doesn't know what she's talking about because Blake holds herself responsible for the fact that Adam did that and for the fact that she hasn't told anybody about Adam, about her past in general. And At the same time, when I understand that, you can't treat somebody like that, especially somebody like Yang, because that's the last thing that she's going to want to be treated like, is to be treated like she doesn't know how to handle herself or like she can't take care of herself. And with that being said, that's why I was glad that Yang didn't get upset. I was glad that Yang acted mature about it, and she basically just told Blake that it's going to be a while for us to get back to where we were, but it will happen. And Yang said that she was glad that Blake was back, which is a great thing. We all wanted to have that kind of sincere, sentimental moment between them. Seems like I might be dropping or skipping a couple frames. Hopefully everything is still coming all right on you guys and on YouTube. Going past that, well, before that, because this is all taking place on the train, before that we have Weiss having to go back to Atlas. And I know that I'm doing this a little out of order. I have my stuff in order, but I wound up skipping it a little bit. Weiss having to go back to Atlas. Weiss stated in the beginning of the episode in chapter 1 that she didn't feel like like the rest of Team Rwby or Team Juniper appreciated how much effort it took for her to leave Atlas, leave Jacques and Whitley and all those other rich snobby ass people. Now, even though they don't understand, because she literally spent like damn near an entire volume leaving, it just had to happen eventually. Like, at the same time though, you're sitting there thinking like, Winter's most likely back at Atlas. They have to take the relic to Atlas. With all that being said, you would think that Weiss could just stay home. But I understand, especially when she got slapped by her dad. Oh my God, he was such a prick for that. I cannot believe they had that on here. I would have, because my thing about Weiss's dad and even her brother is that they don't have any power. Or rather, the only power that they have is using money. And guys like that, or people like that, who only use money for power and everything like that and don't have any real abilities, it pisses me off to see when there's somebody with power and they belittle them to make sure that they stay in line. But it wasn't going to work, and I'm glad it didn't work. Weiss had to leave Klein behind, and hopefully Klein didn't like get fired or nobody found out Klein helped her. I hope that they didn't. But Klein did that knowing that he would probably get in trouble. And that's one of the reasons that we like Klein. Now, I don't know what they will do when they bring the relic back when they bring it to Atlas. I don't know what will go on. I don't know what will happen. But regardless of what goes on, what happens, the relic needs to be in Atlas. Now, with that being said, we'll probably see Winter in the next couple episodes or chapters, if you will. I would love to see Winter and Crow's dynamic. That is always hilarious. Even in the Chibi series, it was always hilarious. Winter and Crow at each other's throats is freaking fantastic. And Weiss will be able to show Winter, because I don't think Winter has seen Weiss summon at all. No, because the last time we saw Winter was in Volume 3. I mean, if you count the character short of Weiss, then it wasn't in Volume 3. But not counting that, the last time Weiss saw Winter was in Volume 3. So Winter has never seen Weiss summon anything. And I would love to see that older sister, younger sister dynamic, Winter showing Weiss, and maybe even Winter sparring with Weiss when it comes to summoning. Moving on past that, because this is going to be a short discussion. When I do my discussion video for Chapter 3, which obviously, again, came out today, so anybody who's watching this now or watches this later, Chapter 3 did come out today. Make sure you guys watch it and everything. But I'm just trying to get through my thoughts on this, and then when it comes to Chapter 3's discussion, which will probably come out on Wednesday, I would say Thursday because I'm off Thursday, but Murder of Birds, if I'm not mistaken, will most likely do his on Thursday. And I always got to stick, I always got to be tuned into his takes on everything, because him and Semblance of Sanity are like the peers of the Rwby community when it comes to like, they're like up here, I'm like down here when it comes to like just the theories and everything like that. I'm just going through all this to show my thoughts, and then when I do the discussion, the live discussion for chapter 3, then I'll get into like my theories and everything. I'm holding my theories for chapter 3 and the rest of the volume off until I get into my chapter 3 discussion. Will probably be Wednesday. I want to do it before Murder does it, just because I don't want people to be thinking that I'm just stealing ideas from him and stuff like that. Next I want to get into is Crow's bad luck. I like how ever since Volume 4, Rooster Teeth has made sure to let us know and remind us that Crow's semblance is that he brings misfortune. And they did it again in the beginning of chapter 1 when the train first gets attacked by Grimm, and they show and Blake talks about how it's just my luck and everything, and Crow goes, it's not yours. I like how they do that because they just with a little bit of subtlety, they show you and remind you that Crow will have misfortune following him always. And thankfully that misfortune didn't take place by, somebody dying for real. Well, somebody close to him dying or anything like that. One of the one of the huntsmen, however, did die. I think it was D or Dudley. I think it might have, yeah, it was D. It was D. D did die, apparently, to the Manticore. And I'll talk about the Manticore in a little bit, because that is crazy. But I do, again, like the fact that they give us these reminders. Because, I mean, in a sense, you could say that what happened at the end of the chapter of chapter 1 was also a sign of Crow's bad luck. Because Crow had to deal with it. You could say that. Not saying that's true, but you could say it. But on to the Manticore and the Sphinx Grimm. I'm saying it's a Sphinx, and if you guys don't know what I'm talking about, I would pull up a picture, but I have yet to figure out how to do that using this software. I do plan on being able to do that with you guys, because visual aids are like the key to doing live stream discussions, I swear. But the Manticore and what I believe to be a Sphinx Grimm. Jesus, did they do a good job on these Grimm. I love how they always bring like mythology and fairy tales into Rwby, because it's just an amazing twist on everything that we've ever thought about fairy tales, in my opinion, and mythology. The Manticore Grimm looks absolutely amazing. The scorpion tail, the kind of like armored mane that he has, the fur, everything, the wings, everything just looked phenomenal on that Grimm. And the action and fighting scenes for the train battle were absolutely amazing. If you guys have not seen chapter 1, you need to watch. Heck, if you guys haven't seen Rwby in general, you need to watch it, because I've never seen people who consistently improve as much as Rooster Teeth. When it comes to companies, like for shows and movies and everything, I've never seen a group of people who consistently improve every single season, or in this case, volume, if you will. Because when you look at if you look how fluent the movements are with the fight, it was just amazing. And they brought back team attacks. I wanted them to use the code names for the team attacks so bad. Like when Yang and Blake are trying to hold down the Sphinx, I would love for Rwby to yell out Bumblebee. I would just love to hear that. Or Ice Flower, when she took Weiss, I think she took Weiss at the beginning of the train. I forget what she did, but when she kind of like used her semblance along with Weiss, just like how she did with Nora in the first episode of Volume 4, I would have loved to hear that too. It's just like the code names were amazing. Ice Flower, Checkmate, just everything was on point in that episode. It was just amazing. Then you got the subtle change in brutality in the Rwby series in general. And this is what I mean by that. When you think about Volume 1, 2, and 3, we didn't see any blood. We didn't really hear sounds of like breaking or snapping of bones. There wasn't any cussing. These are all things that just didn't happen in the first three volumes of Rwby. And also the first three volumes of Rwby were more like kiddie, more playful. Now we're at war. That's basically what's going on. Now we're at war, full-fledged battle, watch your back, sleep with one eye open type war. And that scene where the train's going into the tunnel, Oscar / Ozpin runs and slides between two of the train cabooses or whatever. Not cabooses. What's the word? Between the two compartments of the train. Let's just say that he slid to avoid danger. And when Dudley, the huntsman, tried to fly outside, which I thought was a dumb idea anyway, his arm broke, or at least had a breaking sound. It didn't seem broken when we looked at it, just had a huge bruise, but it was most likely broken because hence the snap. Now, when that happened, and then along with the beginning of the episode where they show Adam, and you know, it might not even been this episode. It might have been episode 2, but I'm pretty sure it was this episode. Showing Adam, and when he slaughtered those White Fang members, and all that blood that was on the ground and on the stairs and everything, and all the cussing, even in Volume 4, when Tyrion called Rwby a bitch. And then Crow saying, "Do your damn job." These are all like subtle changes in brutality, and the age rating, in my opinion, going up, because we need that. We need to see, like, take it like this. In the first 3 volumes 1, 2, and 3, they're in school, right? They're in school, they're learning and everything, they're children and everything, and even though they're still young now, they have to grow up. And when you think about it like that, it's like this is throwing them into the real world. They're in the real world now. There's no playful this, there's no kiddie that. Sure, you guys can have your fun times and everything, but you gotta keep in mind that even if your age says otherwise, you guys are adults. With that being said, you guys have to do certain things that normal people wouldn't do. And you have to endure things that normal people wouldn't have to endure. So, taking it like that, you could say that, well, this change in brutality, as I like to call it, is something that's needed. It's something that's needed. It's something that has to happen. It's something that I'm glad is happening. And subtle changes like that are things that I really, really come to enjoy about a series. Another thing is Oscar and Ozpin's struggle. What I mean by this is that Oscar and Ozpin, obviously they're two souls merged. When you think about Ozpin, however, there's multiple souls merged, but when you just consider just Oscar and Ozpin's two souls in one body. With that being said, there's always going to be like Oscar's mainly going to be the one holding the reins and everything, but Ozpin can always switch over, and it seems like Ozpin can switch over whenever he wants, and it seems like Ozpin's control of Oscar's body is getting more and more dominant. Ozpin's soul is obviously stronger because he's the sum of multiple souls and multiple beings, but it seems like Ozpin's control of Oscar's body is getting stronger and stronger every day, or rather every episode, because even though Ozpin always wants to be at the helm of Oscar's body, and you can tell that he always wants to be at the helm of Oscar's body, because of the fact that almost every time they have a dialogue with each other, Ozpin's always basically asking whether he can take control or not. And then when you think about it, it seems like Ozpin doesn't even really have to ask, because when Ozpin reveals that the relic of knowledge, which is the lamp, obviously, is what most likely is attracting the Grimm to the train, he just flat out took 100% control. With that being said, I feel like eventually Oscar is going to fade away. It'll be either he fades away, or no, I just feel like he'll most likely fade away. It may not be like Oscar in general like fading away, but I feel like just I'm trying not to spoil too many things that happen in Volume 3, but just like Oscar will wind up like Ozpin's previous lives, is what I'm basically saying. I'm not saying that Oscar will wind up being literally Ozpin, like Ozpin will be Oscar, but I am saying that Oscar's mindset towards everything will change. And that's just me. That's just my personal opinion. Then we have the throwback to the Black trailer. If you guys don't know what I mean by the throwback to the Black trailer, if you remember in the Black trailer when Blake leaves Adam, she cut the cable to the train, to one of the train cars. She continued on and she left Adam behind. In the scene where, in this scene, Blake had to cut the cable to the trains so that Team Juniper, while using Ren's semblance to mask everybody and being amplified by Jean, could continue. Blake had to cut the train car. When she cut it, she looked up and she saw Adam. Now, at the same time, we have no idea whether that was really Adam, really just a masked person who just happened to look like Adam, which I doubt, or just a hallucination. Regardless, it was a throwback to the Black trailer because she left Adam in that same exact way. Now, however, this Adam has a hood on. Assassin's Creed much? Like that's what I'm thinking. Like a hood on. We saw obviously the sword was there. And when you think about it, at the beginning of the episode, Crow also told Dee and Dudley that the caboose, the staff entrance to the caboose was wide open, or to the train was wide open. With that being said, if neither of them did it, because both of them said that they didn't do it, and they even said it walking off. They didn't say it to Crow. They said it walking off to each other to signify that they really have no idea who did it. Somebody snuck on that train. Now, at the same time, I feel like there's a possibility it could have been Maria Calavera, who we're going to get into next. If you guys don't know who Maria Calavera is, she is the old lady who we see in the trailer, not only in the trailer, but in the intro, I believe, with the goggles. She has to be a Silver-Eyed Warrior. If she's a maiden, then fine. But I feel like she is 100% Silver-Eyed Warrior. Reason why I feel that way is because of the simple fact that in the intro, she looks at Rwby and it instantly cuts to Ruby's eyes. And then not only that, she has those goggles covering her eyes because she's blind. Those can't be a coincidence at all whatsoever. So, assuming that she is a Silver-Eyed Warrior, why is she blind? What blinded her? When I was tuning into Murder's stream and he was talking about it, he was saying that he felt most likely that Salem and her associates and everything, or her followers, in a sense, took her eyes, along with the rest of Silver-Eyed Warriors, or most Silver-Eyed Warriors. The reason why I didn't agree with that personally is because why would she just take their eyes instead of killing them? At the same time, maybe Maria had just enough strength to, after when Salem blinded her or took her eyes, she got away. That would make sense. Me personally, I thought it was more of a... And I get why this doesn't make sense now when I'm saying it on the stream. I thought it was more of a Mangekyo Sharingan type thing, where using the silver eyes too much can wind up, or overexerting them. It doesn't mean you have to use them too much, but overexerting them could cause you to lose your eyesight. That's what I just personally thought. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But that was just my personal opinion. I do feel like she will train Rwby. I would love to see some training. Hopefully we get that next chapter. In chapter 4, I hope we get that. I hope we get some kind of dialogue between Maria and Rwby. And I hope Maria mentions her eyes. That would be great because I want to see Rwby training to hone her skills. She's known about, or the silver eyes were first mentioned in Volume 1. That was the first thing that Ozpin said to Rwby. They were mentioned again at the end of Volume 3. when Crow was telling her the story of the Silver-Eyed Warriors. Ever since mid-volume 4, I'd say, or a little towards the end of volume 4, when Crow was talking to them at the fireplace and everything in the camp or whatever, there was never any more mention of the Silver-Eyed Warriors or Silver Eyes in general. Like, what I mean by that is Rwby never mentioned it. She just said, okay, well, instead of trying to figure out or hone or try to figure out why she has these abilities or powers, because I know in the big fight scene in Volume 5, when Rwby actually managed to use those abilities, somebody there had to see it. There had to be somebody there who's sitting there like, okay, what the heck was that? Nobody saw what happened. Nobody saw some giant-ass wings or whatever fly out of Rwby's eyes. I just don't know. I don't know what that was. Somebody had to see that. I just don't see nobody seeing that. Then we have the fight scenes. Again, going back to the fight scenes, very fluid animation. They just flowed perfectly. The team attacks were great. And just the simple fact that, I mean, think about this. When was the last time we saw Weiss use her glyphs ever since she learned how to summon? What was that, Volume 3? The last time we saw Weiss actually use her glyphs? Volume 3, maybe? And I mean, I guess you can say Volume 4 she did use her glyphs when she was fighting Vernal. But at the same time, she never utilized them to their full extent. She never utilized the ice abilities that she had. She just stopped doing that kind of like full circle ever since she learned how to summon. She spammed summon. And it's good to see her use her glyphs along with summoning. Like, it's good to see her use what I want to see her is her use them in tandem, because that would be pretty cool to me. It might be a little overpowered, maybe, but I would say that those are key things that we just don't think about. Weiss using her glyphs finally to break away the Sphinx's wings, the team attacks, Crow and Rwby. That double sight scene with Crow and Rwby was one of the littest things this episode. First of all, we got teased about Crow's scythe ever since Volume 3. We saw it once in Volume 3. During that whole fight with Tyrion, we didn't see it at all. We thought we were going to see it. It did not happen. In Volume 5, we did see it when he was fighting Hazel. But to see it just right off the bat like this, I mean, he instantly used his scythe. I don't even think he used the sword function. I think he just instantly used the scythe. Was great. And that team attack with Crow and Rwby, Rwby coming from the right, Crow coming from the left, both doing that weird, like, Beyblade type spin, was phenomenal in my opinion. I did not see a lot of things that are better than that. The shot that showed Ren masking the train, that was good cinematography. In all honesty, that was great cinematography, which brings me to Jean's semblance. Now, if I'm not mistaken, it was confirmed that his semblance was aura amplification. Pyrrha used her aura to unlock Jean's, but you wouldn't call that amplification. She just, in a sense, broke down the gate that was Jean's semblance. Or Jean's aura, rather. Flat out just seeing Jean, and this is, if I'm not mistaken, this is 2 weeks, or maybe just a week after the big fight where Jean first used it. This dude had like full mastery of it, like it was no big deal, just healing the dude's arm. To see that is great. And when you think about, Ren has only really masked how many people? Like, he can mask at a distance. He can mask people at a distance. Because I remember he did that to, I believe, Crow or Rwby or Jean when they were fighting the Knuckleglaive Grim in Volume 4. But to see him mask at this scale was completely insane. Because when you think about it, Ren can probably only mask maybe at most 3 or 4 people if they're all touching him. That's not even him being at a distance from him, if they're all touching him. He masked this entire train with the help of Jean. When you think about that boost that Jean gave him, imagine Jean amplifying everybody else's semblance. I don't know how I'd be able to amplify Rwby's, but imagine him amplifying Nora's. Imagine him amplifying Weiss, Blake's. She could have shadow clones for real. I don't know how he'd amplify Yang's either, but just imagine him amplifying those people's semblances. The last thing we want, though, is for him to amplify Crow's. Everybody's gonna die. Just saying. But then we come to an end of the chapter, and the train is derailed after Crow and Rwby destroy the Sphinx Grim because of a blast from the Sphinx Grim, because those Manticores and the Sphinx were able to breathe fire, which I thought was a nice touch, because them just being like brutes like how the other Grims are, and just like really whacking and eating people and clawing and everything, that was alright. But I think a real nice touch was them being able to breathe fire or shoot fireballs. Fireball hit the tracks, train was derailed, and we got to see Weiss's gravity glyphs yet again. And it was an amazing, amazing use of her gravity glyphs to keep everybody's feet grounded so nobody fell, nobody died. What was funny, though, was when they were checking to make sure everybody was all right after the train was derailed, when Maria Calavera said still alive when everybody was checking on each other, and she said that was a close one. That's how you know she has to have some kind of like skill. Like, I'm not saying she's sitting there freaking bouncing off walls like freaking Yoda or something, but to be able to survive a derailing that serious had to take some kind of skill that we haven't seen yet, and I can't wait to see it. Going on to chapter 2. Now, like I said, this discussion is going to be short. I have seen that a couple people have, or just one person has tuned in and out of this live stream, so thank you for that. Don't want this. I don't know how these live streams are going to go, just for the simple fact that I'm not the best when it comes to discussing stuff, but I would love to discuss stuff with everybody, with the Rwby community, which is why right after this live stream, I'm tweeting out so much crap and putting it everywhere on social media. Now, at the beginning of chapter 2, we get a flashback to right after the fight, the big fight in volume 5. Oscar is still resting from that battle with Hazel, and rightly so, since Hazel is practically Bane. They're talking about bringing it to Atlas. Weiss is again voicing how she doesn't want to go back, but I mean, it's a must. We have to. And they showed that scene. I thought it was great that they showed it, because they showed us what happens right after. Like, the whole time skip thing, it's alright for me, but to see what happens immediately after is great. That brings me also to Cinder being confirmed alive. Now, anybody who, and be honest, if you thought that Cinder was actually dead, like the video. If you thought she was alive, like the video. But I was 50-50 with it, in all honesty, because one thing that's a rule on anime and TV in general, TV and movies in general, and Murder stated this in his live stream: no body, no death. We did not see her die. We also did not see her maiden powers transfer and leave somebody else. If we saw her, even if we didn't see her physically die, if we just saw the maiden powers leaving, like coming up from the darkness and the abyss and everything, if we just saw those leaving, we would have knew that she died. But not only did the powers not leave, we didn't see a body. And it shows her literally like in the water. And I don't know if she broke on impact hitting the water, because as you guys know, water can be pretty dense under the right circumstances. So maybe she shattered and broke, or the ice broke. upon hitting the water, or maybe just like Raven, because remember, during the fight between Cinder and Raven and Vernal, if you want to count her, Cinder froze Raven first, and Raven found a way to break out using her powers. Well, not necessarily using maiden powers, but just breaking out. Cinder could have did the same thing right before hitting the water. And then what happened was she passed out due to maybe fatigue and obviously being weak from the fight, waking up, coming out of the water and everything, obviously tired and exhausted and beaten from the L she took from Raven. First thing she does, however, which I thought was kind of funny, is try to use her fire powers, which is also stated by Murder. She tried to use her fire powers, or her maiden powers rather, right after being in the water. Now, one thing I thought that was weird though, and I guess you could say I'm a little bit of a stickler for this, but you're an all-powerful maiden. Like, the only people who surpass the maidens when it comes to magical ability is most likely Ozpin and Salem. And my thing is, you being that powerful with magic, and you're telling me that if you're wet, you're not really able to use your powers? That can't be right. It just seemed like that. Now, it could have been just because of the fact that she was tired and everything from battle, she couldn't use it. But it just seemed like instantly it was because she was wet and she couldn't use that her maiden abilities, which would suck, because that means under the right circumstances, maiden powers could be useless. And that's why I doubt that it was because of the water, but 50-50. I'll say that. Right after that, you see a split and a crack in the, you could call it a mountain that they're in, where Cinder broke out with using her Grim Arm. Now, that crack could have always been there, or it could have been caused between the clash between Cinder and Raven. I personally thought those because of the clash between Cinder and Raven, because if you remember when they had that whole Soul Calibur moment, when they got those giant swords and they clashed, the whole entire mountain was shaking, to the point where even Rwby and everybody fighting on the upper level could feel it. That could have caused the crack, in all honesty. Cinder breaks out, and instantly there's a woman walking by. Now, what reason is a woman walking by the mountain? I don't know. Maybe she lives by the mountain. I don't know. But to be out in the rain and everything with a basket of fruit, that's already asking for trouble, in my opinion. You could have got robbed also. But this is one of the first deaths confirmed 100% in Volume 6. The lady asks Cinder for help. And, being a good Samaritan, she asks Cinder if she needs help and everything like that. And Cinder reveals her Grim Arm. You can see her Grim Arm. The lady just sitting there gasping. Here's my thing. Why have you not ran when you saw that? She literally let Cinder kill her, take her clothes, her lien, and bounce. And probably the food that was dropped too. Moving on past that, we have Cinder incognito, which is confirmed that it's Cinder, who, if you guys remember the intro, the hooded lady or the hooded figure, it's confirmed that that's Cinder. I knew it was confirmed that it's Cinder as soon as I saw what the lady was wearing. She took the lady's clothes to be incognito because there are wanted posters or wanted scrolls or whatever you want to call them all over town, because everybody knows who attacked in Volume 5. With that being said, Cinder went to an info broker. Now, I didn't even know that they would have info brokers in Rwby. And this is on some Izaya Orihara stuff. If you guys don't know who he is, one of the best info brokers in anime. Cinder goes to see a lady called Miss Malachite. Now, I'm not going to lie, me being an idiot, I did originally think that Miss Malachite was one of the headmasters. Because in my opinion, there has to be a headmaster that's a female. There is no way I'm going to sit here And I mean, this isn't me just preaching about girl power or nothing like that, but I would just think that it'd be a nice touch to have at least one female headmaster. That's all I want, just one. And she talks to Miss Malachite, and apparently she is looking for Rwby. She's continuously looking for Rwby. And I think the reason why she's looking for Rwby and everybody, even now, even though I guarantee you if she stumbled across them and fought them, she wouldn't be able to take them. But I think the reason why she's taking that risk is because she doesn't want to risk disappointing Salem to the point that she already has. Salem already knows by now that the mission was a failed mission to get the relic. They failed to get the relic. Cinder does not want to risk Salem coming down on her, I feel like. And with that being said, I wouldn't either. Not Salem's crazy ass. So since that is the case, Cinder feels like she must retrieve Rwby and she must retrieve the relic, even if it means doing it by herself. She can't rely on Emerald, Mercury, Hazel, anybody. Watts, definitely not. She can't rely on any of them. And I think that says something. That speaks volumes to me, because I feel like it shows how much of a danger Salem is if you get on her bad side. And moving on from this, we cut to the scene right after the train crash, or the train derailing, where Yang is knocking snow off Bumblebee and uncovering Bumblebee from being covered in snow. Everybody's sitting there, and Yang confronts Ozpin about why he lied about not revealing what the relic can attract, which is Grimm. With that being said, my whole thing is that Ozpin had his reasons, and I understand that. Ozpin living multiple lives, there's no way that people didn't betray him. No way. I mean, he's been alive, didn't he say, for thousands of years? Being alive for thousands of years, obviously he got betrayed. Now, one thing I will say is that means that he has serious trust issues. And that also speaks volumes for Crow, Raven, General Ironwood, Glinda, everybody who's in Ozpin's inner circle. That speaks volumes to how much he trusts them. I understand that he couldn't. It wasn't that Ozpin, I think, stated that it wasn't that he couldn't trust you or that he had reason to believe that they would betray him. It's just from experience. And I believe that. At the same time, when you promised Yang and the rest of Team Rwby and Juniper that there would be no more lies and half-truths, you got to own up to that. But at the same time, Yang can't talk either, because she didn't promise. She had told Crow, when Crow asked Yang what happened when she went down to the vault, Yang just said that Cinder was gone, Raven was gone, Vernal was dead, and that the door to the vault was already open. Which didn't happen. She had a whole discussion with her mother. Now, speaking of her mother, we need to see Raven and Tai Yang have some kind of dialogue in this volume. There's no way we can go in this volume and not see some kind of dialogue between Raven and Tai Yang. I need to see it. I need to see them face to face in the same room. Another thing is Ozpin taking over. And I know I talked about this in chapter 1, but this is something serious. Ozpin can literally forcibly, even against Oscar's will, with Oscar fighting back, Ozpin can flat out take control. It may take a little bit, but Ozpin can take control. When it's revealed that the relic isn't just a relic, it has an actual being in there, you got to think about the fact that maybe the other relics have actual beings too. This is just the relic of knowledge, which was already stated in this by Ozpin in the beginning of the episode, I believe, in chapter 2, that the relic can only grant 3 wishes every 100 years. Ozpin said that he used up all the wishes, which was a big ass lie. Jin revealed, when Jin is the spirit, Jin revealed that there were 2 wishes left that she could answer. And the question that Rwby asked was, what is Ozpin hiding from us? As soon as she said that, Ozpin took full-on control of Oscar and bolted towards Rwby. It looked like he was going to attack Rwby, which was crazy. And another thing, there is a huge amount of distrust when it comes to Team Rwby and Ozpin and Crow. And Crow. This isn't just Ozpin. If you guys look at the episode and you see when Crow tells everybody to calm down, everybody, Yang cocks her gauntlets, Blake has her sword out, Weiss has her rapier pointed at Crow's throat. They don't even trust him anymore. Which is crazy, because I understand the fact that Ozpin and Crow are like kind of like this, but more like this now that Crow also doesn't know a lot. But it just shows how uneasy they are about all this being dropped on them. They don't even want Crow to come near because they feel like, I mean, them also being kids, they don't want to listen to anybody right now, except for Jin, who can give them all the answers unbiasedly. That being said, it was revealed that to us that Salem had a previous form. Salem hasn't always looked like this, which I thought, and I had a feeling that she didn't always look like this in when we were first introduced to Salem in Volume 3, at the end of Volume 3. I had a feeling Salem didn't always look like that. But for her to look like this, oh my God, man. I wish I could show you guys pictures. I don't know how to do it yet on this software. But for her to look like this, blonde hair, blue eye, what up T? Blonde hair, blue eyes, and everything is just amazing to me. And side by side, facial features, everything is spot on. So, me saying that, I have to say this. I always knew that Salem and Ozpin had some kind of relationship. And this isn't spoilers for Chapter 3. I'll get into that in my next live stream. But I always knew that they had some kind of connection. Because when it was revealed that that's what Salem used to look like, if you look back at the intro for Volume 6, she's the same chick that was staring at that statue of Ozpin in the intro. Just that right there shows that they had some kind of connection. It shows that they had some kind of prior relationship with each other. Whether it was father and daughter, or whether it was brother and sister, or whether it was them being like husband and wife. That's all I'm saying. But that was just to recap chapters 1 and 2. Very short live stream, literally less than an hour. But I promise you, when it comes to my live stream discussion for chapter 3, promise you, it will. I mean, we got so many things in chapter 3. So many. The only reason I'm doing this video now is because I don't want to just jump straight to chapter 3 when it comes to my live stream discussions. I wanted to discuss these two as well. But Jesus, did we get so much unpacked in Volume 3. I mean, in Chapter 3. But that's it for this live stream. Thank you, T, for coming out. I'm going to see if I can live stream something else later on. But I'm going to go on and get out of here, because I do want to see how this live stream looks and everything like that. It doesn't look like the chat box has anything, which does kind of bother me a little bit, because this is a chat box. My God, there should be some kind of writing or something in here when you commented. But I'm going to go on and get out of here, y'all. Thank you for everybody who tuned in, watched, and everything like that, and just popped by the live stream. I know you didn't say anything besides tea, but thank you for everybody for popping by, and everybody who looks at this live stream discussion. Anybody who watches Rwby, who watches this, subscribe to my channel, because I promise you I'll be doing these for every single chapter from now on. Now that I'm able to live stream discussion this, I promise you that's what's going to happen from now on. I'm going to see you guys next time in the next video. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share if you guys like these. And if you guys want me to do more of these, obviously. And peace. And close that damn window.